Hello, Internet. I'm Matt.
And I'm Monster Punter.
And this is the Parallax Rolling Podcast, where we give you our perspective on video games and the news that affects them. How you doing this week?
Oh, man. It's been quite the week. Training at work has been very, very brutal, and
Fun.
I still have a lot to do. So overall, not a good week so far, but I think by the end of it, it shouldn't be too bad.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, I have a busy week coming up, and tomorrow's gonna suck because I gotta get fillings.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, so my mouth's gonna hurt, and I don't like it.
You'll be better off for it.
I'm sure, but I just don't like doing it. I'm sure a lot of people are like that too, though, so I don't feel so bad. But did you have a chance to play anything cool this week?
I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth more.
All right.
Honestly, it's a good game. I like it a lot. I think it's worth playing, especially if you played the first one. I think both of them are worth playing. I wish, if I had anything to say about this one, I wish it was more like the first one as far as like direction and, I mean, people love open world, but there's so much to do that I just like, I would like to have had it reined in a bit. And
I can understand that. Yeah, like I'm gonna keep throwing this one as a bad, it's a great game, but it's a bad example of decision paralysis, and that is Witcher 3.
What about Witcher 3?
There is so much to do. You can get decision paralysis. You just lock up because you don't know what you want to do. You don't know where you want to go. You just kind of get lost in it all. There's just too much. And yeah, it would have been cool if they trimmed that game back a little bit.
Yeah, but the cool thing about that one is that depending on the choices you make, actually kind of affects how the story's told to you, among other things. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like I said, it has some cool elements, but like,
yeah,
I kind of look at Witcher 3 like Spider-Man 3, whereas Spider-Man 3 was a cool movie, but it would have been better if it was actually multiple parts.
Yeah,
because it was telling multiple stories, and I feel like Witcher 3 would be the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but cool. Anything else you get a chance to do?
I've been helping my brother with his computer, among other things, and yeah, that's about it. I haven't really been playing too much else.
Okay.
So,
well, you know what you need to start. You know what you need to start playing. You need to start getting on your Monster Hunter now.
Oh gosh.
No, because right now, for at least till I think the 26th, I believe, Barioth and Legiana are more frequent. And if you go to do the hunts, Barioth or the hunting spots, Barioth is pretty much in those all the time. And this is gonna be your last chance till December to get Barioth gear. So if you really want to stack up your ice weapons, you should do that. But yeah, so I've been playing. I've been working on that. I found I had I had an old iTunes gift card that was worth $10, and so I decided to redeem it, and it still worked. It actually took the money, so I was able to use it to buy some stuff, and and yeah, so I got some extra things to help me continue the hunt, and I'm working on trying to kill a bunch of stuff and get my season pass and all that stuff going. But
I'm sure I'll play it some more, but we'll see when exactly. I'll see about the Barioth thing. I do like Barioth's weapons, so there might be something to that.
And his armor is pretty dope looking. Pretty awesome. Yeah. So aside from that, I've played two other games of note. First one is I am continuing Iodine Chronicle.
Of course.
I don't know how far I am, but I do know that I managed to get my city built up to level 3 of 4. And I've met a lot of people already. And I love the character variety in this game. Every character.
When you have 108 of them, there should be.
It's more than 108, I think. And it's definitely more than 100 for sure. But, like, Dude, I found a wizard out in the mountains. And I'm like, oh, what's this wizard guy doing over here? So I go to talk to him. While he's talking to me, he turns around and punches a rock, and the rock falls apart. And he talks about his magic, his muscle magic, and how he has to build up his MP, his muscle points. I haven't put him in my party yet, but this dude is already one of my favorites. But yeah, the party characters are so amazing, and I have already, I did the extra legwork, and I got the 3 heroes from Eiyuden Chronicle Rising.
Okay.
Here's where things get interesting. So I'm at the point in the game where I have all 3 of the main heroes for Eiyuden Chronicle. You'll see them on the splash screen as the game loads up. I have all 3 of them in my party.
Mm-hmm.
They have, I don't know why they call these hero combos, but it's basically everyone's team attacks. So they have a hero combo called Hero Combo, where the 3 of them like do a super attack, and it's pretty powerful. The Rising heroes also have one called Rising Combo, and they do a pretty heavy damaging attack. All 6 of them, if all 6 of them are in your party, they have a team attack together.
Nice.
And it's called it's like the Combined Heroes Combo, and it starts off like they all like group up with each other, and they all shout Eiyuden, and then they begin to unleash just nasty combo on one specific poor individual, and he gets wrecked, and then they get an attack buff for 3 turns. And the best part is, so all the combos require everybody have skill points or SP.
Mm-hmm.
This attack costs 1 skill point for each person. And you have a possibility to keep that skill point as you go on to the next turn. So you could just unleash this ability every stinking round. It's awesome. But the other game I got to play, I went back to Vampire Survivors for a very important reason.
Oh.
They updated. They gave a new free update called the Laboratory with 2 R's, and they brought in a new character, new weapons, and it was a really cool. Like you open doors to access new areas to find treasures and all these things, and then there's a switch you can hit that summons a train across some train tracks and just annihilates the monsters, and that was cool. And then it led to another level, which is like you're riding a minecart in like a Mario Kart type situation, but all the other enemies are in carts and they're coming at you while you're trying to like race, and it was silly, but they came out with a new DLC called Operation Guns.
Okay.
It is a collab with Konami.
Oh, really?
Yes. It is Operation Galuga, the new Contra remake. And it has all the major players from Contra, from the Contra Force. So it's got Bill and Lance. It's got the 2 new female characters. It's got the werewolf, the robot, and the lady with the bow from Contra Hardcore. And it's got a couple other characters. And I'm like, this is amazing. And the map, the first map they give you, at the 25-minute mark. So for anyone who hasn't played this game yet, whenever you do a stage that's usually 30 minutes long, at the 25-minute mark, the boss of the stage comes out. At the 25-minute mark on this stage, the turtle boss from Contra 3 shows up. And he looks amazing. It's so cool. And then and the map is huge, and it has a ton of different like nods to other Contra games, like the bridges that would explode when you ran across them, but they don't actually explode in this. But then there's like destroyed cities, and then there's like alien infested land and everything where it's all goopy and weird. But after you kill the turtle boss, around the 27-minute mark, you're told, hey, there's a giant alien threat approaching. Go handle it. And so you go to this location where they tell you to go, and you hit a button, or you step on a button, and it takes you into the room, the exact room where you fight the skeleton boss from Contra 3. You know which one I'm talking about?
I don't remember that one. I didn't have a Super Nintendo either, but...
Okay, so basically this dude's like a giant robotic skeleton who like peels apart the back wall. Like he like slides it open, and he sits there and he breathes fire, and you can move around the outer ring of the room like you could in the actual Contra 3 game, because that was the only way you could avoid this, otherwise you died. So you had to like you could move around the wall, and he shoots laser beams, and he shoots mines that have timers, and it's by the time you fight him, you're usually so overpowered that he's going to go down after doing one of each of his attacks. But it's such a cool thing. And when you actually beat him, he loses strength, and the door he opens slams shut and his head pops off. It falls down in front of the doorway. And they took their own little they put their own little spin on it, so the head's just sitting there. And it's like looking around the room and looking at you, and then the white shade of death comes off screen like he does in late game Vampire Survivors, and he kills the skeleton, and he kills you too. But it's just and the guns, the weapons are amazing for each of the characters. My only complaint is, so there's 3 characters, three of the weapons. When you evolve them, they become option A, option B, and option C. You get the Konami options. You get like little ships that fly around you, but they're like Tomcats or F-14s. They look like those fighter jets, and so there's 2 of them per weapon, and they fire extra shots. It's actually pretty cool. My complaint is this: Konami, if for some reason you hear this, it would be so cool if you gave these guys permission so that if someone has option A, B, and C, the weapons evolve one more time and the guy gets Vic Viper.
Okay.
That would be awesome. I would love that so much. Like, just give me a Vic Viper with like a laser. That'd be so cool. Please, Konami. And for those of you who are actually watching our video, our ships are loosely based off of Vic Viper, so there you go. Little podcast behind the scenes there for you.
A little.
But yeah. No, but so that DLC is freaking awesome, and I've enjoyed it very much. The weapons, like I said, are pure insanity, and I love the fact that they keep everything. Every DLC is under $3. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And the game, when it first came out, was $5, and then he bumped it up to $8 at full release. Like, it's it's amazing. It's amazing what this guy in his studio are doing. So
yeah,
it
was one of your games of the year.
It was, absolutely, and it's still going strong, which is pretty nice. Okay, well, I think we've had enough time talking about games we've played. We need to hear back from our community. I'm trying new segues, man. I'm trying something. But so this week's community and comments come from Tom. Both of them from Tom.
Okay.
So first off, I'm going to give you. He gave us a short one, and he gave us a long one.
Okay.
I'll give you the short one first.
Okay.
Hey, guys. I love the responses to my comments about the Hall of Shame, even if we don't agree on most of it. Cool. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. If we all agreed on everything, then this wouldn't be a discussion or interesting at all.
And life would be boring.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Long one. Deep breath. All right, here we go. Greatest third-person action game. So he's responding to the question, which was, what's the greatest third-person action game? Greatest third-person action game of all time is God of War Ragnarok or Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. If you're talking third-party shooter, specifically, it's Resident Evil 4 Remake or Last of Us 2. Some would say it's Elden Ring, but in my opinion, there's too much more to Zelda and God of War than Elden Ring. The variety of gameplay elements, the more meaningful stories, especially with Ragnarok, and the more deeping and challenging gameplay. With Zelda is the super deep and rewarding sense of exploration in 3 massive open worlds, with a plethora of well-developed dungeons, shrines, caverns, and awesome physics based puzzles, along with the best gameplay in the series. And God of War Ragnarok, if you play it on Give Me God of War mode, the combat is more exciting, deep, and satisfying than pretty much any game ever made. Those are some pretty strong statements.
As they usually are with Tom.
Yeah, but, understandable.
Yeah. I don't have anything bad to say about his choices. I mean,
they're doo-doo. Really... They smell bad. They're good. They're good.
He's speaking for most of the I should say, if you're talking about this gen only, I don't think anybody would really take issue with what his choices were.
No, not at all. And I was going to say, like, not in a bad way to say this, but I think it's like a little bit of recency bias with his answers, which is fine, because I think the way you and I think, we have much more nostalgia, rose-colored glasses when we talk about, a little bit, yeah. So, which brings us to our answers to the question. Do you want to go first?
No, go for it.
Okay.
I'll go second.
So I was going to give mine, and then before we got even recording, Monster brought up a second answer that I would say, and I'm kind of mad that he brought it up because I was like, oh, you had to make me remember. So I got 2.
I'm right, though.
You're absolutely right. I got 2 of them, all right? First one, Castlevania Curse of Darkness.
That's a good game.
It's such a good game. And
it is a good game.
It's technically a Metroidvania. Technically.
Is it?
Yeah, technically. But the weapons are so solid. All of them are wonderful in their own way. The story is engaging, and it continues Dracula's curse, Castlevania 3, it's the direct sequel to it, so it's beautiful. In fact, you can even unlock Trevor as a playable character, and you have Trevor mode to go through. So, like, there's replayability in this game to a large degree. The devil familiars are really cool, and yeah, I don't have really much. I don't have many bad things to say about that game. I really don't. I like the ability you could steal stuff from the bad guys, and that gives you items. And like, one of the hardest things to do is while you're fighting death, to try and steal something off him during an Omega attack that he's doing. And it's just like, okay, this is crazy. But yeah, so Castlevania Curse of Darkness, great game. The second one requires you to get used to the controls. I'm not going to lie, the controls are kind of janky.
Yeah, they are.
But, and you do have to get past like the first 2 to 3 stages before things really get spicy and wonderful.
The humor in this game is amazing.
It's so good. And the fact that this studio no longer exists is a crime.
Capcom. Hey, Microsoft's not the only place shutting down studios.
Yeah, Capcom did this a long time ago.
There's been many hold my beer moments as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. And this one belongs to Capcom and Clover Studios. They made God Hand.
They also made Beautiful Joe.
They did. But God Hand is my other third person. That game is so great. When you're fighting when you're fighting the Power Rangers, but the Power Rangers are actually what's the correct term now? Little people? Is it little people? It feels weird to say it like that. But well, no, because you can't say the other ones anymore, like dwarfs. So, but it's the power. They're dressed up like Power Rangers, and they do concentrated attacks against you. There's a gorilla on a beach ball that you gotta fight. There's just insanity for bosses, and it's awesome. The game is just awesome, and the attacks get wild towards the end, and it's such a good game. It's such a good game.
I think you can buy that on PlayStation Network. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
if you can, you should. But as for me, I'm going to sit here and hold on to my copy till the day I die.
Play it on emulator if you have to, people. It's worth playing.
It is very worth playing. All right, your turn.
I'm only going to submit one answer to this, and it'll also be another game from the PS2 era. But because I'm going with third-person action here. The question was third-person action. I'm sticking with third-person action, where the RPG elements are basically nil, and that's going to be the first Devil May Cry.
But you can actually level up in Devil May Cry.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I said nil. Like, not saying they're completely absent, but for the most part, not there.
No, but that game is amazing.
Yeah, for its time, imagine people. You may not remember this, but at the time, it had been a while since a Castlevania, and especially like a Castlevania that was any good. And when Devil May Cry came out, it felt like it should have been a Castlevania game at the time. In fact, I think if you go back and read some of the reviews of that time period, people were saying this should have been Castlevania.
I think it wasn't it originally meant to be like a spin-off of Resident Evil?
It might have been.
I think it originally was meant to be a spin-off of Resident Evil. But man, I can tell you what, those scissor reapers, the fire spider, like the storm owl, those things just stick in your head. You remember them. And dude, when I got Nightmare, wrecking time. Nightmare was disgusting in Devil May Cry 1. And then they nerfed it to blazes in the following series.
Oh man, I just remember having such a good time with that. And I was working for GameStop at the time, and this was a time period where they would actually give GameStop managers copies of games before they were released, and this was one of them. I actually had Devil May Cry beat before the release of the game. And
back in my day, we had a GameStop called Funkoland.
And it was good.
I'm just going to leave that there.
But that's like the iconic third-person action game as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
And on which many games have imitated since.
Here's the thing. Ever since 3, well, 4 not so much, but Devil May Cry 3 and Devil May Cry 5 both have one thing going against them, and that is my age. And the only reason I say it is because I can't finish Devil May Cry 5 because my hands start cramping so hard. Like, it hurts to continue to play, and I want to continue to play because it's a fantastic game. Same thing with 3. When 3 came out, I started getting hand cramps because the fighting is so intense. You have to play those games in spurts.
They are great games.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask the community question this time.
Sure, but real quick, thank you, Tom. Thank you for your insight, and thank you for all the great comments. For everyone else, if you got comments, questions, whatever, tell us in the comments down below. We appreciate you guys.
So here's the question I want to posit to everybody, and I want to see what your thoughts on this are. Steam Early Access, is it a good thing? We'll cover that next week. Hopefully we get some answers.
Yeah, we'll cover that next episode, because hopefully we record next week, but life gets weird.
I guess so. We'll see.
I wish we could be a little more consistent, but unfortunately we can't. Anyhow, that was your question?
Yes.
Do you have another question?
No, that's the only question.
Oh, you're not going to ask the other one?
No, I'll save it for next time.
Okay, fine. I thought you were going to spoil our viewers, but no, I guess.
No, just one question.
All right, you don't get spoiled, folks. Sorry.
Listen. I mean, the ideal had to dig deep for these, so I need to kind of space them out.
There's a lot of smoke in that room right now, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, straight off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, we got actually a good amount of stories. How do you want to tackle these? Do you want to do our bad news stories first?
Of course.
Okay. Then why don't we do the one that is like gonna get us the most attention in the algorithm?
I mean, the herd of elephants in the room? Not just an elephant. It's a whole herd of them.
Yeah, well,
So,
I don't know if it's a herd because they're not there anymore, but
oh, I see what you did there. But we're a little bit late to talk about this compared to everybody else because of the timing of when we're able to record.
right.
But it is, I'm sure, no surprise to anybody that Microsoft closed Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and there's even more cuts at Bethesda.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it, this is a bad thing.
This is dumb. This is so dumb, and I'm actually mad about it because Tango should not have gone down.
No, not at all. And if Microsoft didn't foresee that they didn't have the money, because that's partly the excuse that's at play here,
Yeah.
then, what are you guys doing buying all these companies? I realize you guys want to compete, but there's no point in buying these companies and then shutting them. It doesn't make any sense, especially when you had a bona fide hit with Hi-Fi Rush. I did hear from somebody, I don't know how accurate this is, but for the game as the size of Hi-Fi Rush, supposedly there was a AAA backing as far as number of people developing that game. So the fact that it released at $30 or $40 and was on Game Pass worked against it. And so maybe they closed it because it just took too much to produce the game for what they were able to sell it for. Regardless, Microsoft had a franchise on their hands. They had Hi-Fi Rush. You want franchises that's going to sell your products, be they Game Pass on PC or console or even just Xboxes in general? Hi-Fi Rush was one of those.
You had mascots out of Hi-Fi Rush. Majority of those characters could be mascots. And it doesn't make sense that a game that amazing, that well received, I could see them closing Arcane because of how bad Redfall, because Redfall had a rocky start. I could see that, but Hi-Fi Rush, why would you ruin Tango? Why? It's just a bad decision, and it's bitter in my mouth.
Yeah, I hope that they don't abandon that IP, but I just hope they have the wherewithal to keep the spirit of the game intact.
At the same time, though, I kind of hope they do abandon the IP, only because they're going to hand it off to somebody else, and someone's going to ruin it, because it's not going to be the original creators.
Well, then again, that's not always the case. We have plenty of people who take up, projects that were once held by somebody else and do just fine. So we'll see. I just don't see them making another Hi-Fi Rush anytime soon. It's going to be quite a while. But regardless, Microsoft has quality franchises under their wing should they choose to do it. And Hi-Fi Rush was a AA game, in my opinion, that had the potential to be
AAA.
Much more. And AAA. And, this was what Microsoft needed. And now who knows what happens.
They shot themselves in the foot. Yeah. I mean, it's stupid that, especially if it's because, they fail to meet expectations or for whatever reason. But it actually goes into our next story. because someone else is upset about things failing to meet expectations, and it's Square Enix. Square Enix is upset that Rebirth, 16, and Foam Stars all failed to meet expectations.
This comes courtesy courtesy of IGN in this case, but the original article was on Bloomberg.
Right. But let's talk about this for a second. Okay, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth failed to meet your expectations. Well, I'm sorry it didn't make you $50 gajillion. Final Fantasy 16, same story. Foam Stars, you have yourselves to blame.
Yeah, Foam Stars was never going to be anything.
You made a Splatoon ripoff. What is your problem? I just... Oh, okay. Yeah. So
I think Splatoon partially works because of the kitty
right
art direction of it. Foam Stars is not kitty whatsoever as far as its presentation is concerned, and I think it really did need to be.
Right. The one thing that really bothers me about this all is it's always the launch sales. It's always the launch sales. Oh, we didn't have enough launch sales. Like, oh, we only had 3 million for Final Fantasy 16.
Well, I understand their reasoning behind this, because if you look at how the game sells, if you look at graphs of how games sell, they start out at the top and then it just flattens out. A week later, they're not selling nearly as much until maybe you get around Christmas time and maybe there's a bump there. But for the most part, it's within that first week to week and a half is where you're going to sell like 70% of your games at least. So there's... Well, I
think you should give the... I think you... If I was a game studio, and maybe this is bad on me, but I would give them a year. I want to look at the sales of a year to determine how well that game was within the first year.
Now they're saying stuff about like the exclusivity is having an impact, and I'm sure Sony gave them money to make those exclusive. It's not like that Square Enix just said, "Hey, we're just going to put this on PlayStation because we feel like it." Yeah. I'm sure Sony gave them some money. And maybe that money was accounted for in a different quarter and not in the same quarter that the game sells. Because that makes sense, right? Sony's going to say, hey, here's a pile of cash. Develop the game for our system. We're going to give you money to help you develop it and, to release it on our console. And so that makes sense that, the payment from Sony and the sales from the game don't exactly line up. So maybe your revenues don't necessarily line up. Yeah. Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to lead into the next story, but go ahead.
No, the other thing I want to point out is that when was the last time Square Enix has said their games have sold well?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I can't recall a time where they've put out a press release in the past 2+ years or so where they say, hey, our game's doing fantastic, except for maybe Final Fantasy XIV. Maybe that's the sole exception now that I think about it. But everything else, everything doesn't meet expectations. And to me, it points to inept management in either how they budget or their expectations obviously are out of line with what they're actually doing. Yeah. The projects probably have tons of overrun, so they want to sell more to make up for those overruns, and it's just not it's not getting there. So
what I think it is also, I could be wrong, but I almost feel like this is the mentality is, well, if Final Fantasy 1 saved us from extinction, then every single game we make should do the same thing.
Maybe. But
and that's a foolish thought.
The last thing I want to say on this is that if they didn't expect Rebirth to sell... If they expected Rebirth to sell more, let me rephrase that. If they expected Rebirth to sell more than Final Fantasy Remake, then they're just out of their minds. There's no way in hell it was ever going to meet the same sales as Rebirth. For one, it's a sequel, direct sequel. Direct sequels never sell as well as their predecessors because it's predicated on you having played the first game, and not everybody who plays the first game is going to like it. And, I think their management sucks.
Well, they're gonna blame everything under the sun. Like, oh, we stuck to one system, and that's why. Next story. Final Fantasy maker Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy after profits tumble. That does include Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Well, yeah, that's kind of a dumb statement. Like, oh, well, we're not selling as much as we want, so now we're going to try to go to all the other systems. Oh, you mean like most developers?
Well, I mean, if you want to reach the largest audience, you put out a game on everything.
Right. I mean, but I'm just talking like for most third-party developers, that's kind of the idea. Let's put it on every single platform. Again, I think it's almost like, as much as I love Square Enix games, I think there's just a bit of elitism in their corporate thinking.
Probably, but I mean, you would expect Sony to pony up enough money to make it worth their while to only release it on their system.
True, but if they're not, then yes, you should already be looking for other options. That's just silly. Okay. Yeah, so it's just those two stories are linked together, but it's I think it's a shame. I think what Microsoft's doing is a shame. I think what Square Enix is doing is just dumb, and I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I don't even know how to switch up the stories at this point. Like my segue just stalled. I don't know. I think I hit a curb.
Well, we could just say they need to stop killing games.
There you go. Hey, thank you. Do it.
I gotcha.
Take it. Take it.
Well, I mean, it is. There's a group of people out there called Stop Killing Games right now,
which we have a link to on our description if you haven't seen it. I'm going to keep it there forever because it needs to be made aware of.
And I just think it's a good cause. I think they're pushing for things that I think are good for the game industry and sustainability. Not having games that go away when they're no longer supported online. Any game that you buy online that has its own online only component. So let's just say let's take one of the most popular online only games in existence, League of Legends.
Yep.
When that goes offline, that's gone. It's gone. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some fan servers and other things like that, but
right.
Everything that you have in that game, everything that has existed, will all be gone. And nothing is a monolith. You may like to think that League of Legends will last forever, that it's going to be you're never going to lose anything. You invested money into that game. I'm sorry, but at some point, the game is going to go down. Everything in life follows a bell curve. They're probably at the top of their bell curve right now. How long they stay at the top of the bell curve is anybody's guess, but eventually it will come down. And, all that money you've invested could be gone. But Stop Killing Games is trying to make it so at least there's some repository, some way of saving all these games for words escape me.
Preservation.
Preserve these games into the future. I think it's really a good idea, and they're talking and trying to push, and eventually there'll be some congressional activism to have some of these things that they want built into the games, or just maybe some legislation gets passed. But the only way that stuff happens is if people get involved and participate, and we'll see how long it takes. Stuff like this takes a long time.
It does, but and that's why probably the biggest one we talked about before was the crew being shut down, and so the creator of Stop Killing Games has encouraged people who are angry and upset to file a complaint with France's Directorate General for Competition, Consumer Affairs, and Fraud Prevention. That is a heck of a title for a job. But yeah, so because Ubisoft is headquartered in France, so you send the complaints to France. And yeah, we'll see what happens. but keep these people going. Show them support. Click that link that we put down there. Show these guys that we mean business.
Speaking of game preservation.
Yeah. So, last time I did a solo episode, I talked about Delta, which is an app for your iPhone to play Nintendo games, particularly like Game Boy Advance, and DS, I believe. Well, there's another one a-coming, if it's not out already. Gamma. Almost think they're made by the same people. I'm not sure. I didn't look that up. But Gamma is going to be coming out, and it's going to be a free PlayStation 1 emulator for your phone. Which is cool, because, like, if I really thought about it, I could put Legend of Dragoon on my phone now.
Will it play good, though?
I don't know. I kind of want to test it to see. I kind of want to test it to see. But anyways, it is good news, because it's game preservation coming back at you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but we'll see how successful these things are on the iPhone and the iOS greater ecosystem.
Well, and that all depends on the Apple antitrust lawsuit. We'll see what happens with that in the future. But speaking of the future,
congratulations, Apple fans! Welcome to 20+ years ago.
Okay, just calm it down a little bit.
Was that under the belt?
Just calm it down. Just control yourself.
I'm just kidding. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I know. You couldn't resist because I totally laid you up for your segue and you just ignored it.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, you did. All right. Last story, go. There's your segue. Enjoy it.
Oh, man. There's none better than the one you just gave me. So we have some more rumors about Nintendo Switch 2 specs. And more or less, they're not really surprising. This comes from GameSpot. Where do you start? It's supposed to be, at least it's being said, that it's going to be built on NVIDIA's T239 processor, a variant of it. Because, all these console manufacturers take base hardware that somebody makes, and they'll make their own changes to it. Sony and Microsoft did that with AMD's technology, and Nintendo's doing it with the Switch 2. They did it with Switch 1 too, in fact. So what they're saying is that it could be in the range of a PS4, somewhere in there. So basically,
which isn't terrible.
It's almost like a Steam Deck, really. Steam Deck's been rumored to be around a PS4 as well. They're saying that it can play Death Stranding at 1080p with about 35 FPS. Okay, I mean, sure. They're going to be using Joy-Cons again, which is a good thing. It seems like backwards compatibility is actually being taken seriously with this system. Yeah, it did sound like
they were going to be doing backwards compatibility, which I'm glad, because I would have not considered Switch 2 at all, because I have too many Switch games I have yet to play.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
for sure. But there's strong hints that that's going to be the case. The rumor at this particular point in time is a 12 gigabyte frame buffer, and that's shared between the CPU and the GPU.
I thought you were going to say a 12 gigabyte hard drive, and I'm like, ooh, future.
Well, it's actually going to be, the rumor is 256 gigabytes.
Ooh, future.
Yeah, it's 64 gigabytes to 256. With as big as the games are going to be for the Nintendo Switch 2, I have a feeling it's going to feel a lot closer to what 32 did on the Switch. So I don't know if Nintendo's doing anybody any favors here, but we'll see. You know that they're going to probably take NVIDIA's technology, underclock it for battery life. I mean, there are the upscaling technologies that are a thing right now. NVIDIA has DLSS, which is the the gold standard, I guess, is what the best word for right now. We'll see if Intel and AMD catch up to it. I know Intel has made really big strides, and AMD is releasing one this year that should close the gap quite a bit. Will it completely close the gap? Well, we'll see what happens when analysis and all that kind of comes out. But, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. The rumor right now is that it's going to cost $400, which seems... Man, that seems like a lot for it. But then again, PC handhelds are kind of coming in at twice that price.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Steam Decks and whatnot are more than that, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, Steam Deck aside, those other devices are still basically PCs, right? That can operate as a PC to a large degree if you want them to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some value to them outside of being a video game console, which kind of makes the price a little bit easier to swallow. But we'll see. It's still something to think about. Nintendo.
But you know what we won't see?
400 is tough.
Yeah, but you know what we won't see? We will not see any news of the Switch 2 and the next Direct coming June. They actually put out a tweet. Nintendo put out a tweet saying, "Yeah, we're get ready for the next Direct, but we're not talking about the Switch 2." If they do talk about the Switch 2, this is the dumbest setup ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. Here it is. Like, don't do that to people. Don't patronize, don't belittle your audience by doing something that dumb. Like, just because you're trying to drive hype. That's hype machine. The hype machine. Oh, I could go. Oh, I'm gonna save that for like something in the future. But the hype machine. Ugh.
Sometimes it's really bad.
It's really bad.
All I'm gonna say on the matter is, Nintendo's track record of consoles is one smash hit, one complete dud. So, I mean, the Switch was such a huge hit that, what are they not telling us? And if they just simply made a more powerful Switch, I think they have, to a large degree, a winner on their hands.
Yeah.
But this is Nintendo we're talking about. They're going to try something, and it could go south really quickly.
But here's the thing to keep in mind. Here's the big answer to the big question. When will the Switch 2 come out? The answer is when the next 3D Mario is ready.
Or Zelda. But that's already came out, so that one's probably...
Which one came first on the Switch?
Which one came first on the Switch? Mario.
Yeah.
No, Zelda.
Is it?
Zelda was a launch title.
Yeah, but I thought Odyssey was too.
No, it came out later.
Okay. It's been a while. I can't remember.
Zelda rang in the Nintendo Wii as well.
That's right. Okay, so then when the next Zelda game comes out, that's going to be a while.
Yeah, well,
we just
I don't
had
think it's going to be Zelda this time.
Yeah. It's going to be Metroid Prime 4.
Dude, they teased that like 5 years ago now.
I know. So it's going to be Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2.
We'll see if that ever comes to fruition. Who knows at this point? They had a teaser 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't exactly remember when.
So
and then
Metroid
nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, Metroid Prime 4, Hollow Knight Silksong, and I want to say there's a third game doing the same thing, but they're all in running for becoming the next Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, that's a good one. But Duke Nukem Forever, they kept showing stuff.
Right, but the problem, but the problem was when Duke Nukem Forever finally came out, the audience for that game was not playing that type of game anymore. That era of gaming was gone.
Was it Duke Nukem Forever took 10 or 11 years to come out?
Yes.
It was something like that.
Yep.
I think it was Duke Nukem Forever came out in 97, and you didn't get the next Duke Nukem game till 2008?
Yeah, something like that. And it tanked. It tanked.
Yeah.
It was nobody liked it. Nobody found the jokes funny. Nobody found the way he treated women fantastic. It was the wrong era for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like Metroid Prime 4 and Hollow Knight Silksong, as much as I would love those games, they're not going to come out in time. I'm worried about that.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. You know what time will also tell? It'll tell us to get off the show already because we've gone for almost an hour. So it's that time. We're going to say goodbye here. Thank you all so much for listening. So thank you so much for all your support and your comments and your questions, everything. And those of you who actually talk to us outside of YouTube, when you come up and talk to us about stuff, we appreciate that too. So thank you so much. Look for bigger, brighter things from us in the future, but for now, just hang on because we're in a bit of a storm and we got a tiny little boat in the ocean type thing. Yeah. But anyways, thank you so much again. Have yourselves a fantastic week and have some awesome game time, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Take care.
Later.